Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to one of the fastest growing podcasts on the internet. Trust me on that. Don't try to fact check any of this. This is Unscripted Company, hosted by yours truly, JK, and my great co-host, Riley. This is episode 22. Believe it or not, we are 3 episodes away from a quarter-century special extravaganza. Details to be provided at a later time, potentially in this episode. Who knows? We have surprises. This is Unscripted Company. Everything I said is about as scripted as it's going to be. Here in a bit, we're going to dive into some interesting, exciting, time-sensitive topics. We had a big debate. I was about to say election. It might as well have felt like an election this past week. I don't know. But we had a big debate. I know we're going to dive into that. There's a heat wave coming across Texas. We had a heat wave hit in the Northeast a couple days or weeks ago. Now we got one hit in Texas, so we'll dive into that. We got some human skin that we're putting on AI robots. So stick around. We'll dive into some of these wild topics. But as always, if this is your first time around the block with us, we always start off with what we call the water cooler. As with most companies, the water cooler talk is where it's at. So Riley, how's your week been? I saw you put some updates on our show notes. It sounds like you are moving and grooving, my dude. What is going on?
Dude, I'm trying. Week before last, I think it was week before last, put in an offer on a home, went under contract for that one. I had another client. I've been working with this client. We've talked about him a couple times. He will not be named. But it was like a timing thing, like we've been working together for about the past 6, almost 7 months. And we looked at a few properties, some things were being talked about. Specific things couldn't work in the way he wanted to, but then eventually he called me and he was like, "Hey, I think we can make this work. I think this is good." We're able to come to terms. It almost didn't happen though, because as soon as I had the contract drawn up and sent to him, he called me and he was like, "Hey, like I need some time to think about this now." And I'm like, "Well, the offer is already sent to you. We already technically agreed to all the terms, so hopefully this may go through. We'll see." And it did. I mean, I gave him time to think about it. I gave him, obviously, my professional opinions and what I think. At the end of the day, the client has to make the decision for themselves. There's not much I can do on that regard. But he ultimately signed the contract, sent it over, and we're in the option period now. Inspection is tomorrow morning, so we will see what happens.
Crossing my fingers that you don't find black mold.
Well, technically, we can't call it mold. We have to call it antimicrobial bacteria, I think is what we have to, the legalese term that we have to refer to. We can't actually call it mold.
Interesting. I guess that makes sense. You want to use the scientific name for it in a sense, but
it's a legality thing too, that we technically just can't refer to it as that. But at least we can. The professionals, like if we were to get like someone to come out and take a look at it, they would say like, yeah, like that's what it is, but we can't say that to like the clients. We just have to get it treated or get it figured out. Because I actually sold a home that there were traces of that under the house just because of all the moisture and everything. I gave, like, we got it taken care of. Obviously, we got it treated as far as I know. We gave them the invoice to show, or like the what's it called, the rough price, the estimate. We give them the estimate, and then we disclose it to them. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's up to them. I mean, if they wanted to get it done before closing, they could have, but they chose to wait till after closing. I was like, all right, like like it's all good. But yeah.
Not gonna lie, I get paranoid sometimes that the place I'm living in right now has mold and I'm just not aware of it. So this house was built in the early 80s. It hasn't really ever gone through a facelift other than things that like current tenants have, done to it. For context, for those of you listening, renting this house. So it's like a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-story, older established neighborhood. But in Texas, for those of you who may remember back in February of 2021, we had what was called like ice apocalypse, snow apocalypse. It went by a lot of apocalyptic names, but the whole state basically shut down because we had like snow that turned into ice and it didn't melt for like a week straight basically. But a lot of homes had problems where it had a bunch of ice and snow build up on the roof, and just because of the lack of melting or the very slow melting, if there's any, holes in the roof, you're going to get mold build up in the attic or any kind of walls that it would drip into. And I didn't live at this house at the time. My current wife at the time, her and I weren't even really dating or knew each other existed at that point in time. She was living here. And so the landlord did little to nothing to repair near anything. We got a new roof though. I don't know, maybe 6-7 months ago. So we have a new roof. Like any leaks are resolved, but I do wonder. I'm like, what's going on in the walls? Because I have bad allergies. My whole joke is like every pollen in Texas, like, I'm allergic to it. Oak, cedar, mulberry, ash, except like whatever you can think of in Texas, like it's trying to kill me. And it's gotten better over the years, but my allergies did kind of kick up a little bit when I moved in. So I don't know what's going on, but.
So funny enough, Dana is actually the same way. Her allergies were bad, but it's like moving to Denton and then living in this apartment specifically. I'm pretty sure like I've found traces of mold. We're just gonna call it mold because it looks like it. And I even told our apartment complex about it, but most of the time what they tell you to do is just, put some peroxide and bleach, and which theoretically does work, but you have to get to the actual cause of it to treat that. Otherwise it's going to keep coming back. Needless to say, it hasn't come back. So, I mean, I did the peroxide and the bleach and it never came back. So, it's probably still, I'll be honest, we probably do have mold in this apartment because these apartments were built in the 80s also. I'm just saying, it doesn't really affect me that much. But for her, I mean, bro, like, and the only time I get affected by bad allergies is like when it's a specific updraft or like pollen or like it's something weird, like one of those weird things. Well, there's like something called something grass. I can't think of what it's called, but there's
Ragweed?
Ragweed. That's the one. Yeah, ragweed really messes me up. Like I'll get bad headaches from that, and like I'm like, well, I know that we have a high pollen count or something, so like I don't do any work that day because I can't focus. I can't do anything. So
yeah. I also saw you have a public speaking opportunity coming up. Like what's going on with that?
So I told you that I spoke at a networking event. It's a smaller networking event, but I had the opportunity to be a guest speaker. I mean, everyone technically has the opportunity to volunteer, and obviously I had the opportunity to volunteer, and I did, and so I spoke at that. And it was funny because so I go to this other network. It's kind of a networking thing, but it's a faith-based thing. I'm not going to obviously go into huge detail because technically what happens in the group stays in the group is how we perceive it. But it's a men's only group, and it's all business owners, dads, husbands, faith-based. Like it's a faith-based thing. And I was sitting there, and the guy who runs it, he's a good friend, and he'll reach out to the people who he wants to speak at the monthly, breakfast. And so during this last one, like I was sitting there, and I don't know what it is sometimes that I do this, but like I'll play like the inner monologue type of thing, but I'll play a scene in my head, and I envisioned him asking me to be a speaker at this next one. And somehow, some way, in my mind, I'm like, the topic's going to be about faith. Like, how has faith helped me as a husband and becoming a business owner? And dude, I'm not even kidding. Not even a day freaking later, he texts me. He's like, hey, would you be okay? Would you be open to speaking next month? And I was like, sure. I was like, of course. And this is only my second time, so I've got to start getting some stuff together for that. And he was like, this is what your topic's going to be. And sure enough, it was about faith and everything. And I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, how do I think? I don't know. Like, I guess that's like my gift. Like I can do stuff like that, but I don't know. But yeah, it was interesting.
It made me think. So shout out, of course, to one of our avid, loyal listeners, Daddy_streaming. I saw he also follows me on X, the artist formerly known as Twitch, so shout out. But I saw he made a comment on our video from last week, and he said, remember your words have power, so stop talking things into existence. LOL. So remember this. You have a gift. Use it wisely, sir. If you ever want to talk the lottery numbers into existence, let me know. Let's do it on record and we'll cash out.
Dude, all I'm saying is if I talk the lottery numbers into existence, yeah, you and Abby are for sure moving back to Denton and we're buying that piece of land and we're building our houses. That's what's happening.
Sounds good. We'll
But-
get ourselves a pair of McMansions. How about that?
Right. But dude, it blows my mind though, because not even, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? I literally brought up the women's thing about the draft, and then boom, something comes up about it. I'm like, dude, like, because I know that technically everyone has a spiritual gift, whether or not you're a spiritual person or a faith-based person, everyone has a specific gift. And I need to look up to see if there's an actual like term for what mine is, if that is what it is, because I tend to like say things, I'm like, this is what's going to happen. But then certain things, I guess, take longer to happen. It's just a matter of time. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Man, not to make it like a wild pivot here. One thing I saw, and I just want to give everyone who's listening the heads up on this. I saw there's a new trailer for a movie that dropped 3 days ago for Nosferatu. Do you remember like the OG Nosferatu? Not saying none of us probably actually watched it. Most of us probably remember it from SpongeBob when they were like making fun of Nosferatu, but it's like the original Dracula movie, basically.
Yeah.
Have you seen that they're going to do a remake of it?
I actually watched the original Loki.
You did? Okay. So like the silent black and white.
Yeah. So I didn't get to see the full trailer, but I saw part of it. The only reason I watched the older one is I had an opportunity to watch a lot of older Halloween type movies and scary movies, one of which being the original Night of the Living Dead of the black and white. So I've definitely seen some older black and white depiction movies, that being one of them. So
Nice. I'm kind of excited for this one. At first, I kind of laughed because I was like, all right, here's another example of Hollywood literally not knowing what else to do. So they're just recycling existing properties. Now they're going back to like OG 1920 something black and white, silent films. But I did see it's got a good crew doing it. So it's got Bill Skarsgård in it, for anyone who knows who that is. It's got William Dafoe in it. That's pretty solid. But also the screenplay and the director of the movie is Robert Eggers, who he did a bunch of other good stuff. He did The Witch, or The Vavitch, which was an A24 like horror film.
yeah.
He did The Lighthouse. What else did he do? He did some other stuff as well. The Northman, he did that. So I don't know. I have confidence it'll be a solid cinematic adventure, but I just have to pause and laugh that Hollywood is remaking a 1920 something silent film.
If we're talking about movie remakes right now, keep in mind I wanted to go see this movie. I probably won't go see it in theaters because we had to choose between this one and Deadpool 3, and Deadpool 3 obviously is it took that. We already bought tickets, but Twister, or Twisters, I should say. If you've seen the original Twister movie, like obviously for what tornado type movies were back then, they looked authentic. I mean, like the CGI, like it seemed like it was kind of hard to tell. Well, obviously they're remaking it, and it's already remade, and it comes out next month on the 12th, I think, something like that. Well, anyways, I wanted to go see it in theaters. I was like, yeah, I'll spend my money to go watch this. After I saw a scene in the trailer of this man holding this woman by her arms and holding onto a chair with nothing but his foot while this tornado is ripping this building to shreds, I'm like, you can't get any less real than that. Like, what are you doing with your life at the point where you have to remake a movie and the remake doesn't even, and there are some cool scenes, but you could definitely tell that it's just CGI. Like, movie companies seem like they don't even try now. Like, they just like film something and they just CGI everything into it that's not real.
Yeah. So I guess I haven't seen the trailer, but I guess they're taking kind of like a turn your brain off summer blockbuster type vibe, where I'm thinking like a movie like Meg, where it's about a megalodon and it's like none of this is real. It's a shark movie, but I guess it's fun. They're just doing that with a tornado, except in this case the tornado doesn't have sharks in it because Sharknado has already been done. So they're just remaking Twister, which I never saw the original, to be honest with you. But is the idea of it just a massive tornado comes through town?
No, so it's a movie about, so both of them have the same synopsis, but it's a tornado chasing type movie. So it's like,
Oh,
but
okay.
they're storm chasers, but they do it on a different level. So it's like the original one, the goal was to chase a tornado, and they had this machine called Dorothy that what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to send this machine into the tornado, and it has these little tiny drone type robots or whatever that are supposed to essentially go inside the tornado or inside the funnel, and they're supposed to map the entire funnel. It's a way for them to study the storms essentially as to how tornadoes form so that people could be better prepared, or maybe they might be able to help, mitigate anything in any way. And so obviously the remake, it worked for what it was. And this one, I think, is supposed to be the same principle, where it's like they have this machine, they're trying to send it to the storms. You got this crew that's like this tornado chasing, like they thrive on like the paparazzi type stuff, like the media stuff. But in this case, they actually work together with like the lower end storm chasers versus like trying to go the opposite direction and like compete against each other. And it's got some cool CGI scenes from the trailer. Like I'd at least suggest checking out the trailer, but if I wasn't going to spend money on both movies. I was like, I got to pick one. And I was like, at the end of the day, Deadpool 3, because it's Deadpool. And this is supposed to be one of the few R-rated Marvel movies. And I'm hyped for it. I'm excited for it because I've been waiting on this movie for a long time.
I'm just picturing like if the director was like, you know what, we're remaking Twister, but no CGI. This is going to be 100% authentic. So the crew's just been sitting out in like Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska for like days on end. They're like, okay, we got an F4. We're going to make it look like an F5, but everybody get ready. And like, it's all practical effects and it's like real. They've only lost like 10 crew members. It's okay. Like they weren't unioned or anything, but
they have the disclaimer: no persons were harmed during the making of this film. When everyone knows that, 10 people died.
think about it. It could be like the Blair Witch Project for natural disaster movies.
I'll be honest, Blair Witch, that was a good movie. Like I don't know how I felt about the remake, but the original, though, obviously for the time that it was made, was pretty good. But I'm with you though. Like Hollywood needs to come up with some new stuff. I just think that there's been so much stuff that's been done already that it's hard to come up with something new if it's already been done. I mean, you could come up with something new and just recast it and try to rewrite the story in a sense, but I don't know. It's just it's everything's been done.
Speaking of stuff that's already been done before, we had a presidential debate this past Thursday. Man,
What's the debate?
It was something. I felt like a one-sided conversation. Now, I'll preface. I know in prior podcast episodes, we've tried to deter from being politically motivated or biased in certain ways, but I'm just going to say my opinion like it is. I watched that full debate live. That was a one-sided conversation, and it felt so painful to watch. For those of you who maybe missed it, there are so many clips and recaps out there of the blunders, the just incorrect statements that were made. It was a little mind-blowing. Because at least from my perspective, and Riley, I'll let you chime in right after I finish, but I think truly everyone knows that President Joe Biden is at the tail end of his cognitive abilities. However, I don't think some people were truly aware of just how bad it is or how bad it has gotten. And I think his team has done him a disservice by masking it as much as they have up until this point. I have more, but I'll get your thoughts on it first because I'm sure. Did you get a chance to watch any of it at all?
So I went back onto YouTube and just like watched, like they broke it down. Like there were people that broke it down into different videos because they wanted to talk about it as well. So I kind of watched a few people that talked about it. Well, I'll go ahead and preface again, as we go into slight political conversations, we're neither affiliated or we have no side. We are just talking about what happened. We're talking about, just how it was perceived to just everyone. Like this is what was perceived to the news stations and all that. And I will say, first and foremost, there were multiple news stations, even some that are heavily biased towards the left side, or to the Democratic side, that they were even fact checking Joe Biden on some of the things that he said, regarding inflation, border restrictions, just all kinds of stuff that Biden was saying. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it was not fun watching Trump either, because let's be honest, he's got his skeletons and he's got his stuff. And I'm not saying that either side did better or worse, but let's be honest here, you are right. I mean, Biden has, I guess, deteriorated in his cognitive functions, but what blows my mind even more, though, is that it took almost 4 years for people to realize how bad it actually was. And I'm like, did y'all not realize this when he first started speaking after he got elected and he couldn't even form complete sentences? And he was talking about random stuff. Like, I don't understand that. And there are people that are saying that they're still going to vote for him. And I'm like, how? Like, I just want to know, like, and it's not like a belittling anyone who agrees with that way of thinking or their lifestyle, but I just actually want to have a conversation with those people to actually understand why.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
I think the why, at least from my perspective, is it's the not Trump vote. Like, it really doesn't matter who it is. It could be Biden, could be Gavin Newsom, could be Michelle Obama. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's the, I don't want to vote for the other guy, so this is the one I'm voting for. One thing that I've seen floating around, talking about Unscripted Company putting things out in the ether and speaking it into existence, have you heard of the hot swap theory of like why the debate went down the way it did and why the news media is reacting the way they are? Have you heard the theory behind this, the hot swap?
I have, and that's actually one of the, so I'm glad you actually kind of transitioned to that, because that's actually one of the things that I put that we could talk about briefly, because I didn't know a lot about it, but I kind of looked up a few things and I was researching it just to kind of see like what the processes would be, but I couldn't find a whole lot. More so, all I found was just a bunch of news stations of them talking about this is going to happen, but go on.
So the theory is, so one of the first things about this debate was very early. When you look at historical presidential debates, like this was very early in the election cycle, or lack thereof, because you have to remember that both Biden and Trump are the presumptive nominees. They are not technically yet the official nominees. However, they don't really have anyone running against them, so they're the presumptive nominees. So that was the first thing. The other thing is kind of a side tangent, sticking with this unscripted concept. Did you know Texas State University was actually supposed to be the first debate location? So I'm going blank on the group's name, but it's like the Committee of Presidential Debates. I forget what it is. They're like a governing body that kind of organizes and oversees historically the presidential debates. And this is the first year that they kind of got snubbed and weren't in charge of the presidential debates because CNN hosted this one. But Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas, was supposed to be the first location in September for a debate. And it was also going to be the very first time ever that a Texas university was going to host a presidential debate. That part, setting that aside, that was just the first thing. I was like, okay, a little salty about that. Texas won't host anything. Whatever, CNN got their debate, whatever, got the TV ratings. So the debate that they had this past Thursday was very early in the process. Neither of them are the official nominee yet. So the idea is it's almost like they put a lamb to slaughter so they have enough time to replace him as the official nominee before the Democratic National Convention takes place. Because also, think about the news media, the mainstream news media. Historically, leading up to this debate, everyone was saying, this is the best version of Joe Biden we've ever seen. He's cognitively fit. Like, he's good to go. Like, he is our guy. Immediately following that debate, those same talking heads completely flipped the script. They did a 180 saying, this is an embarrassment. The donors are freaking out. the major heads of the DNC are not happy about this. They were talking about, do some of the big donors and other party leaders, do they go public with this? Do they go talk with Biden at the White House to prompt him to step down? Things like that. And the other thing that's very interesting about this is, so not only does this downfall, this negative scenario happening, giving them enough time before the actual convention to pick somebody else, Gavin Newsom has been hanging around the scene a little too publicly for my taste. Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. He, from everything I can see, would be the presumptive replacement for Joe Biden, because we already know, I think everyone in politics knows that Kamala Harris is not going to be the next president. Like they're not going to swap Biden for Kamala. But at the same time, they also don't want to snub her because it just looks bad from like a party standpoint. Because they I don't know if you remember, they kind of picked her because Biden had backed himself into a corner saying that he was going to pick a person of a certain sex and certain demographic as his running mate. So he kind of backed himself into a position. So by doing so, like, you don't want to replace that person either. So long story short, the hot swap theory is that Biden was set up to fail so they could swap him out before it's too late.
So just to touch on that, I was obviously kind of Googling stuff about that, like even before tonight's recording, or even just in general. I've been just kind of looking up stuff about that. And my buddy actually talked to me about Gavin Newsom, and he has the same opinion. I mean, as most people probably would, but the fact that they're referring to him as a younger, more vibrant version of Joe Biden. That is what they're referring to him as. And the most recent bill that he passed in California, if he were to get elected, makes me fear for this country heavily, in a sense, for our up-and-coming younger generations. I don't know if you heard what this bill was that he passed. I'm not going to go too heavily into it, but...
No, tell me. I'm not sure what this bill is. I might have heard it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
So the bill is called AB 5 by Assemblymaker Rick Chavez, which sets implementation timelines for required LGBTQ plus cultural competency training by public school teachers and staff. So essentially, and there's like an additional part of it as well, which will establish an advisory task force to identify LGBTQ pupil needs statewide and assist in implementing supportive initiatives. And it says AB 223 by Assembly Member Christopher Ward, which requires any petition for a change of gender and sex identifier by a minor to be kept confidential by the court. So that means if a student, my buddy he explained it to me in a different way, but if a student feel like, they're essentially encouraging students to if they feel like they want to make the change, but they're also encouraging the students to not tell their parents.
But then also, if I understand this correctly, and I don't have this bill in front of me, but what it sounds like also, if they were to change, they could, through a court order, have that information locked down, so that way, if Riley and I were based in California, which we're not, and Riley wanted to wake up and make a big change in his life, if you didn't tell me and I didn't know you prior, from a legal standpoint, I'm not going to be none the wiser to that change without a court order uncovering those documents, which in this case they're not, because the court order is sealing the documents, if I understand this correctly.
And so the faith-based person in me, obviously we're supposed to love everybody no matter what, but there is a right way and a wrong way to live. Obviously, I believe in the two sexes. You have a male and you have a female. You don't have 200 plus whatever. You don't have an infinite amount of whatever it is that you are. There is a male and a female, and that's my belief. But I still love everyone as what they are. Have your beliefs. My belief is that. Have your beliefs as what you have. But in the state of California, this essentially protects the kids and makes it to where it's all classified to where the parents are not able to know that this is happening at the school that they are sending their kids to.
That is crazy. Like I've heard stories of stuff like that happening, but it's crazy just to think that that'll become common law, at least in the state of California. I'm sure there'll be some other states that probably piggyback off that. Your guess is probably pretty accurate onto which other states would piggyback on something like that, but
yeah,
interesting.
But on another note, this article that I found, it says top Democrats rule out replacing Biden amid calls for him to quit 2024 race. And that was as of today.
Yeah, the big news from today, and this will probably be somewhat old news by the time we actually upload this episode a day from now, but Biden and his family went to Camp David today. And this was apparently pre-scheduled prior to the debate debacle. But they were going to go to Camp David, and apparently word on the street is they were going to talk about should he stay in the race, should he not. Apparently his family wants him to stay in the race. Apparently some other talking heads apparently want him to stay in the race, but I don't know how much of that is just like the dog and pony show just to keep up appearances, keep up with the Joneses versus like what's really being said behind the scenes. Because I think one thing that was very telling, and I've heard other people talk about this from the debate, is Trump got a zinger on Biden where he said, "You never fire anybody, Joe." And if you remember back to like Trump's first term, or I guess only term at this point, he was notorious for firing people. Mm-hmm. But if you're running a business and someone is not doing an adequate job or they're very subpar, especially when you're running the United States of America, like if you really aren't doing your job effectively, you probably should be fired or maybe reappointed to a position that would better fit your, skill set at that point.
Right.
And that is one interesting thing that I've heard a lot of people reference is Biden or the Biden administration as a whole hasn't really fired anybody or removed anybody from office. And one thing that I think a lot of people forget about, and the debate reminded them, was the Afghanistan pullout. That was a mess. That was a hot mess, to say the least. And no one got reprimanded for that, for just how bad of a pullout operation that was. Where was it going with this? I don't know.
Well,
but yeah,
I will say that, I'll be honest, we're screwed either way. Like, you got to look at it from like, a multiple different standpoints. But when you look at it just from a country standard, I don't care who you put in office at this point, because either way, there's going to be repercussions on either side. And that's just the facts about it. Each person has their negatives. Each person has their negatives. There's not really, there's not really a positive side. And I feel like a lot of people in the past year have actually slowly been realizing and waking up and being like, oh crap, like this is what we have. Like this is what we have to go with. And when is the final choice for both parties supposed to be made? Isn't it like August or September?
Let's see here.
I want to say it's like middle of August or I think it's middle of September.
See, the Republican National Convention is scheduled July 15th through 18th. What's the Democratic National Convention? August 19th through 22nd. So basically by the end of August, into July, we'll know who the Republican pick is. 99% is going to be Trump. I don't foresee anyone overtaking him on that. And then by the end of August, we'll know who the Democratic nominee is, which could be...
Oh, man. That's what
I'm saying, dude.
That is so much time for so much to happen. Oh, man. And again, we still have until November, but I don't know. I guess just enjoy the roller coaster ride that we're on, and whatever happens, happens, I guess. There's when you look at it from just a normal population standpoint, there's not much we could do about it at all. Like,
yeah, it's just going to be a repeat of the 2020, except it's just crazy. It's just, we'll see what happens, I don't know. Speaking of roller coasters, I'll bring up a sports topic because I saw this week and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Have you heard about the whole debacle between Texas A&M and the University of Texas and the baseball coach hire situation? Did you hear about this at all?
I saw some stuff about it, but I don't keep up with a lot of college sports. I very rarely even keep up with professional sports now, but yeah.
No worries. So for those of you listening, basically the College World Series, which is very similar to the World Series, but it's the way college baseball does their like tournament for their baseball national championship. And Texas A&M took on the Tennessee Volunteers in the national championship. Texas A&M lost, but A&M was a solid team this year. They've been a solid team over the past couple of years because their head coach is an absolute stud in college baseball. Before he was at Texas A&M, he was at TCU. And for those that were watching college baseball like a decade ago, TCU was a powerhouse at that point. The reason I bring this up, so for anyone who's just remotely aware of college athletics in the state of Texas or just the greater country as a whole, the University of Texas at Austin has very deep pockets, and they like to get what they want. I'll say that as a precursor. What happened was Texas A&M, they lost in the College World Series, and their head coach was in a press conference after that loss, and he was asked a question about if he had been contacted or if he was interested in taking over the University of Texas at Austin head baseball coach position, because UT fired their coach, I think like a month ago or so. So there was a vacant position. Everyone knew Texas was looking to hire a new baseball coach. And let me actually play you a short video because I really want to set this up without spoiling the punchline here. I'm going to share my screen. Let me share audio as well. Okay, so he was asked a question about if he was interested in taking the University of Texas at Austin coaching job. This was his answer.
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. And that's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Do you want like a true champion?
Do you want to guess who the new head baseball coach of the University of Texas at Austin is?
Jim Schlossnagel.
Basically, within the next 24 hours, homeboy took the job. He had brought his entire coaching staff with him too. Texas A&M no longer has a baseball coaching staff because they all went to the University of Texas at Austin because money talks.
Oh, man. Yeah, I do. That's insane. Like, how do you even, so here's my question. How do you get hired as like a coach, like just anywhere?
That's a good question. I think there definitely is, to my understanding, there's a hierarchy of kind of how it happens. You start off as a graduate assistant. So it's kind of almost like a paid internship in a sense, like you're doing a lot of the grunt work. And then from there, you go from being a graduate assistant to becoming potentially a position coach. It could be anywhere from being like I guess in baseball, you could coach like the outfield, shortstop, stuff like that. Baseball, not too much of my forte into what the position coaches do. I always think football, basketball. And football, you could be like a wide receivers coach. You coach the linebackers, depending on of course, what your specialty is. And then once you've kind of proven yourself as a position coach, then you could become a coordinator, like an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams. And then from there, of course, some people, they're just, they are a coordinator the rest of their career. Some people are just career offensive coordinators, and that's totally fine because that's a skill set in and of itself. But some people will eventually become a head coach if a team is willing to take a chance on them, or a university or, athletic organization takes a chance on them. And you see scenarios where someone could be like a stellar defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, but they suck being a head coach because the head coach has its own unique skill set. Like, you're managing a whole team. You're not you may not be play calling at that point. Like, not all head coaches are play callers. Some are. Most of the time they'll leave that up to their, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, stuff like that. But yeah, you kind of work your way up through the hierarchy. Same way in like corporate America, you start out entry-level job, you work your way up to like, a specialist and a middle management, and then you become like a director and then a vice president. You kind of work your way up through a hierarchy of, stuff. But
very
I don't know.
nice. Yeah.
I just thought the news story was funny. Didn't want to dive too deep into it, but it's just like he was the talk of like all sports world because he belittled that journalist. Was like, how dare you ask me that question? I will die at this university. And then 24 hours later, he's like, hook 'em.
Well, I mean, it's funny though how people like, realistically, like, let's be honest here, deals like that don't just happen like that. He was talking to them well before that interview. He was talking to them well before they lost that game. Like, the fact that they fired their coaching, like their whole coaching staff, like a month prior, and then all of a sudden he's like, "How dare you ask me that question?" Knowing dadgummit well, he's probably already signed that contract. He's like, "I'm out. I don't even care. I'm just gonna belittle this guy because I can, and I'm out the next day." It was already planned. It was already staged. Like, there's just as much controversy and political stunt type stuff in college sports, professional sports, even high school sports, honestly, that it's just, it's just.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Just because you brought up high school sports, I've just seen a couple news articles about a couple high schools building these wild stadiums. But do you ever see these like wild high school stadiums? You see a lot of them in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I know there's some in Houston, but they're like, they rival most like Division II and Division III like college stadiums. I'll even argue that there's some stadiums and some high schools in Texas that rival some legit Division I college football stadiums. It's crazy. I know like McKinney's got a wild one. Allen, Texas has one. I saw, what was it? Salina, I think, just like they approved a new one. Salina. Is it pronounced Salina? I've always been saying Salina. Man, I know they have one. And then like they're all over the place, and it's crazy just to see these like giant concrete, 13, 15,000 seat stadiums. They have the massive video boards. I mean, it's hype. I get it. But
I'm going to read off a couple of these to you just while we're on the topic of sports. I will say probably the nicest stadium I played in, minus, which we actually played there twice, I think, because we did. No, we only played them once. So we played in the Texas A&M Commerce football stadium, but that was for our by-district championship we ended up losing.
Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, but we did get to play there. But the nicest high school stadium I think that we ever played in was Princeton at the time.
Princeton? Where's that at?
East of McKinney.
East of McKinney, okay.
So it's like going back towards like East Texas.
Yeah.
But so this is 12 of the wildest. Or wait, is it 12? Yeah, 12 of the wildest high school football stadiums in Texas, and this was as of. It was updated to 2023. This probably doesn't reflect the Prosper and or Salina one.
Oh yeah, Prosper had a new one too.
Yeah, but the R.R. Jones Stadium in El Paso, with a seating capacity. Hold on, let's see here.
I could totally see El Paso having a massive one because they rally around their local teams because there's not much else to do out there.
It could seat 12,000. The high school stadium in Allen, 18,000. It rivals probably some college stadiums, honestly.
I think my high school stadium sat like 13,000.
Ours was that small town, so we probably like a couple thousand, maybe.
Yeah.
Odessa, Ratliff Stadium.
Ratliff's a legendary one.
Has which I didn't even know Odessa had a stadium like this. I've been out there a few times. I didn't even know.
Do you know? Okay, so fun facts, like, you know, Odessa is what Friday Night Lights is based off of.
Really?
Like the book, the movie, like.
Wow, I did. Oh yeah, it says right here, Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
Odessa Permian.
So a little bit over 19,000. FCU Stadium in Houston. Like I said, it can hold up to 11,000 people. Memorial Stadium in Mesquite. It can hold 20,000 people. That looks pretty impressive. Tomball. It can seat 10,000 people. Let's see here. That's pretty nice. San Saba. It can hold how many people?
Wait, San Saba has?
Yeah, but it doesn't show a picture of it though.
I've always driven through San Saba. I didn't realize they had a big.
And it doesn't have
Rogan
like
Field. Known as the Graveyard. Oh my gosh.
No, that's a different one. Oh, wait, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it says, yeah, welcome to San Saba's football stadium, also known as the Graveyard.
Okay, yeah, that's what's that.
It says, hang on a minute. It says San Saba's football stadium is full of history, and not just because of the memories made via the Friday Night Lights, but because the stadium once served as the town's cemetery. Since 1856, this lot of land has belonged to the Rogan family. The football field was once a graveyard for Civil War soldiers and early settlers up until 1878. When Commissioner's Court stopped all new burials in 1935, San Saba ISD was donated this land from the Rogan family. In the same year, the city set to remove all bodies, monuments, tombs, grave markers, shrubs, and trees. But according to Ronnie Schultz, San Saba high school football coach, some of these bodies were not removed due to not having family members to claim. Most of these people now rest in city cemetery. Schultz learned this from past friend of the community. Quote, he said that he remembers the bulldozers coming in to clear the land, and a few of the bodies remained, didn't get claimed, so they just bulldozed the tombstones in and left them there. There wasn't many, Schultz recalled. Yo, we got to bring this up in October. This is a fun... Can you imagine that's the lore if you played in a high school football stadium that, like, the lore was like, yo, there's literally people buried below us right now.
Right. That's insane. The next one is Denison, which I didn't expect this to be a good or a decent sized football stadium, but Denison doesn't say how much that one can hold. The next one is Katy, which I knew Katy had dude, theirs can hold 12,000 people. But it looks pretty large. Like it's big. Then McKinney, you mentioned that one. That one also doesn't say how many people it can hold. Austin, House Park Stadium in Austin.
House Park.
And then Sanderson, which that one also doesn't say how many people, but says it continues below the survey. Oh, okay, that doesn't look impressive at all. Now let's look and see how much the Prosper one is going to cost.
Probably like what, 30, 40, $50 million.
$94 million is how much they're asking to be approved for to build this stadium in Prosper.
Dang, man, that is a price tag.
Here, let me see if I can.
Man, I'm just thinking, like, I mean, that's cool. That's got to be dope to, like, if you're in high school. If you're in high school, you're not concerned with money, and you're just being able to, like, experience that stadium as, like, a football player, a band student, you know, a cheerleader, something like that. That's got to be hype. Ooh, you're sharing your screen. What we got going on here?
This is what the stadium...
Dang, son, that looks nice.
Like, that's nice. Now, let me see.
Is Prosper like a one high school community?
I don't know. Because when you're going across 380, you have Aubrey, then you have Salina, Prosper. I'm
looking it up real quick. Let's see here. How many high schools y'all got? The website's making me think there's only one high school.
I don't know if this is the newest one. Hold on. Okay, this might be the newest one then. This one's not as nice, but this is Salina's.
Yeah, it's still nice. Yeah. Most expensive high school football stadium. I could see California having some really pricey ones too. See here, top 10 most expensive Texas. Oh, Cy-Fair out of Houston. Yeah. $80 million. Legacy and Katy, McKinney Stadium at $70 million. Eagle and Allen, $60 million, 18,000 person capacity.
Conroe, Prosper. Okay, so Prosper, if this is...
Yeah, $48 million, 12,000 people.
Yeah. Beaumont, Tomball, Alvin, and Clear Creek.
Okay, 39 million, 10,000 people. That
like,
is crazy.
My thing is, like, why I get population growth and stuff, but why do they need all these nice high school football stadiums? Like, I don't want to pay for that.
Okay,
like,
so full disclosure, Prosper ISC does look to have 3 high schools with a 4th on the way, opening in 2025. So I guess they do, if they're going to put all their resources into like one mighty stadium, like I get that, I guess.
Oh, so after Prosper just opened that $48 million facility, that includes like all the upgrades that they did.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to get a whole nother stadium built for the $100 million.
Wait, so they're having 2 stadiums? Wait, Texas District proposes building most expensive high school football stadium ever at nearly $100 million just 4 years after opening $48 million. Wait, what? We'll scroll down a little bit on this. What's going on here? TexasHighSchoolFootball.com is among the media. Okay. The proposed 8,000-seat stadium would be built in addition to the Children's Health Stadium opened in 2019. Holy crap. So they had a stadium worth $48 million to begin with, and now they're opening another one? That is
They're trying to. Well, I mean, you obviously haven't been up here in a long time, but you remember when you used to drive, if you ever drove down 380?
Yeah, I used to drive there from like Denton to Allen, or like,
and there was really nothing there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there now, I'm guessing.
Dude, it's insane how much has grown out there just in this short amount of time, and the fact that they're not even done yet. So if you go up above, like I've driven the back roads, like going from Aubrey to where was I going to? I think it was Salina, actually, because I did a couple showings out there, but I drove the back way, so I went 377, I had something in Aubrey, drove all throughout those back roads. Going all the way throughout there's so much ground that has been broken for all these new subdivisions that are coming in. They're even about to build another subdivision in Pilot Point, of all places.
Yeah.
And so it's insane the amount of growth. Like, I can see why, but at the same time, that whole package was $2.8 billion, and of that, they want $94 million to build a whole.
That is crazy. Just how much money. Like, that's cool if you're a student, but like if I'm a taxpayer in that town, I'm gonna be like, can we do a little bit cheaper? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Funny enough. Yeah, but funny enough, though, it's actually not even that expensive to live in. I think it's Salina. They said, like, on average, like $90,000 a year, you can have a comfortable lifestyle living in Salina.
Yeah.
They build a lot of luxury new builds to make it look like it's impossible, but...
Where the heck is Salina? I'm looking this up real quick. Where the heck is this? Oh, this is up there. This is like north of Prosper, north of Frisco. That's up there, dude. Like, what?
Yep.
What do these people do for work up there? Are they commuting into Dallas?
Dallas, Frisco.
That's crazy.
Probably.
That's that's parallel with Sanger up there.
Yep.
Man. What's next? Is Gunter going to grow? Looks like Gunter's got nothing.
They're expecting everything north of 380 to just blow up in the next 5 to 7 years. Like, not including just Denton and Denton County, but there's new subdivisions coming in. Like, they're trying to what they're trying to do is they're actually about to finish. So the Dallas North Tollway actually goes over 380 now, but the tollway technically ends once you get over 380. They're trying to stretch it all the way up to, I think, would be the equivalent of Sherman.
Yep, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, I see where it's headed up that way.
That's their next plan, is to do that. So like it's all going to be like the whole DFW area is just going to be up there, and it's just going to be nothing but city.
That is crazy. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like, I see the vision. That's just crazy. And also, I know like Sherman's booming right now because they're getting like a semiconductor plant up there or something.
Denison. Let's see.
Because you got that whole section there that's like, might as well be Oklahoma, but it's still Texas. That is crazy. You know what? Let me open this up. And I don't cough myself to death first. Okay. Let's see here. Let me share my screen. I'll give us a visual. Salina. Man, I've been calling it Selena this whole time. Feel done with that. But man, got that. You got Prosper. That's crazy. Because like this whole section right here, dude, that's the whole thing is like, man, when I look at DFW, like North DFW, I look at the amount of water. I know these are all man-made lakes, but like the amount of water that's here is ridiculous in terms of like yes, I know there will be like water shortages and things like that just as the population booms and infrastructure tries to catch up. But when you look at like in comparison to Central Texas, so like look at all these lakes. Look how big Lake Ray Roberts is, like, and like Lake Louisville. Like these are massive lakes, right? But when you go like south, when you look at Austin, like this Lake Travis is like tiny in comparison. And people always view Lake Travis as like the big lake in town. It's just crazy. Like DFW has so much more room to grow.
Yep. Like all of that, that's like when you look at Salina, you look at Pilot Point, Tioga, and Gunter, all them. Yeah. Melissa's kind of getting stuff, Van Alstyne, but then you hit like Howe and all them, like no one's really getting anything. But then once you, like, everything's just going to start growing up that way. Like you have the lake, and then also too, if you go up, trying to see. So there's another man-made lake that was made. Go to the right towards bottom. Right. Yeah, so go up. Right there. And then move your mouse right. No, go back over to the right. Move your mouse over to the right. Right there. Down.
Oh, down. Oh, right here. Bottom.
Yeah. Part. Yeah. So there's not that one, but scroll out. I'm trying to think of which lake it is. I think it's Lake Bottom, which is that one right there.
Yeah.
They just made that lake. But then, like, that's a full man-made lake. But if you scroll back out, you go towards the left, towards Denison. Find Denison. Where's Denison at?
Oh, up here.
Right there. So the lake that is right there, I think that's the lake. They just committed to a huge spending budget that is essentially about to blow all of that up around there. Like they're going to be building so many new businesses. I was trying to find the article for it, but I couldn't. But it's supposed to essentially boom that entire area to where like they're getting all new, like I think housing, businesses, like everything. So like they're about to revitalize that whole area up there. Like it's insane.
I didn't realize Paris was that far north.
Yep.
Yeah, it's up there. Huh.
It's a little tiny. It's tiny too.
Yeah, I thought it was over by like a little south by like Mount Pleasant for some reason.
We're in like 30 minutes from the border.
It's up there. Huh. So if anyone's out there looking for big real estate deals, North DFW appears to be hot.
And if you're looking for a realtor, Riley Farrow Real Estate, he's got your back.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, I mean that's the growth. That's what's happening right now in Texas. It's insane. Speaking of growth and inflation, you know it's not inflating.
What?
Arizona tea is not inflating.
Yeah, dude, I saw like the co-founder of Arizona Tea came out this last week, and he was like, regardless of inflation and the cost of everything going up, like we're keeping that 99-cent price tag on it. And they've had the 99-cent thing for I pull up the article. I think they had it for like 32 years so far. Kind of crazy. Let me see here. Man, Yeah, so he co-founded Arizona Beverages 30 years ago. At that point in time when he founded Arizona Beverages, Arizona Tea, a gallon of whole milk was $1.13. So was a gallon of gas. And a 23-ounce can of Arizona iced tea was 99 cents. But through the decades and surging inflation rates, Arizona iced tea has held the line. Instead, cranking up the value of its iced tea, the company has opted to snip out the extra expenses that might increase the price. Quote, people say, how do you do that? We make it faster. We ship it better. We ship it closer. The cans are thinner. The co-founder explained in a recent interview with today's Savannah Sellers. He said, quote, we're successful. We're debt-free. We own everything. Why? Why have people who are having a hard time paying their rent have to pay more for our drink? He said, quote, maybe it's my little way to give back. So Arizona Tea is there for you, baby, no matter how expensive life gets.
Well, I mean, obviously you read it, but it's like, why can't other companies and corporations be like, I mean, there are your few niche companies and corporations that are definitely, for the little people. Like, they're like, hey, like, we get that you're already spending this much money. Let us try to make it a little bit easier on you. That's why I shop at, obviously, specific. I mean, I'll shop at local places from time to time, even though they are sometimes a little pricier, but they got families to feed too. It's a local place, and they're not backed by, like, corporations. But when it comes to like places like Winco, I enjoy going to Winco. I mean, we're supposed to get an HEB here. I mean, if the prices are relatively good and they're not as bad as what people, like, because if it's more expensive than Winco, I'm not going to go. Like, I may go for...
HEB has pretty darn good prices, I will say.
Like, if that's the case, then maybe I'll like, there's certain things I like it, but if I like it both, then HEB will be the new Walmart for me, because I would only go to Walmart for certain things, but then HEB will probably become that, where I can just go to HEB and get what I need to get there versus going to Walmart, because, dude, I hate Walmart. Like,
if HEB's around, I will not shop at any other store for groceries. Like, it pained me so much when I first left Central Texas and went to college up in Denton, because there was no HEB. And until you live without an HEB, you don't realize how great of a store it is. Like, it's hard to describe it because I know you haven't really like fully experienced it yet. But HEB, like, you can literally Google it. HEB is consistently rated like the best grocer in the country. And they're only in Texas, and not even all of Texas yet. So it's crazy.
That's the thing, though. It's like, I actually have experienced it. Like, the 2 times that we went to go visit my brother-in-law in West Texas, we went to the HEB, otherwise known as HEB, or HEB Plus is what we call it. But we went to one when we went to San Antonio for like a family, like a siblings family vacation kind of thing. HEB was the grocery store that was nearest, and obviously everyone could agree on. So it was like, we just went there. So I've been there, I've shopped there. Like, I didn't think about the prices at the time. Like, that wasn't what was on my mind. I was like, oh, like, this is, to me, it's like everyone talked it up, and then I went in and I was like, why should I be excited about this? Like, I don't, like, I get it. I get all the hype, but it's like, people, I feel, talk about it so much that I'm like, it wouldn't really bother me if we even if we had one. I don't know if I'd go there all the time. It just depends, because everybody would probably go there, So it's like, why would I go to a more crowded grocery store to do my grocery shopping where I could go to Winco, where there's not going to be anybody at anymore because everyone went to HEB?
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, you have to wait for the hype to wear off, because when Denton does get one, you're going to have people camping out waiting for that thing to open. You're going to have to wait like a month for that hype to die out a little bit. One cool thing about HEB, though, is like their store brand is sometimes better than the national brand, and it's cheaper.
That's how Winco is?
Yeah.
Like that's what they do. But the HEB that opened in North Fort Worth, Alliance area, a couple of people that I know that I work with on the team, they said that they went there and like it was packed. Like, there were lines of people waiting outside because the store was so packed that they couldn't fit everybody inside. And so it's like they had to like wait for people to come out, let them go. It was almost like pre-COVID, or like actually during COVID, where they had to have lines outside the stores, So,
and that takes the fun out of it, because at the end of the day, it literally just has a grocery store. it's not revolutionary. It's just a grocery store. Like, I'm not going to wait in line. I'll go to the Walmart. If there's like a line you have to wait in to get into a grocery store, not worth it. So like once the hype dies down and people normalize like when they go, that's when you should go. But yeah.
That's just insane though.
Yeah.
But Arizona sweet tea though.
Yeah. Man, I grew up drinking those all the time. You'd go to the gas station and get those for 99 cents. So you get the big old Arnold Palmer teas, or you get they had like a fruit cocktail one, I remember. And then like, I don't know. It's good stuff. It's fun memories of that growing up.
I don't think I'll be honest, I don't ever recall a moment where I've ever had an sweet tea.
Oh, they're like, I'm not going to say they're revolutionary, but they're 99 cents and it's a 23-ounce can. So it's like a tall boy.
I mean, I may eventually I think I may have had one, but it was like probably like the original sweet tea. But like, I don't think I've ever had like any of like the flavors or specialty flavor type ones or anything like that. Like I don't recall that, but who knows? Maybe one of these days I'll be driving, going through a Bussies and maybe I'll give me an Arizona sweet tea in there, or the, better of me will still probably buy Celsius. Who knows? We'll see.
Liquid crack cocaine, basically.
Liquid crack cocaine, man. But hey, I cut back. I don't buy the 12 packs anymore. Like I've had 2 Celsiuses in the past month and a half, 2 months almost. So I've definitely cut back. Like I said, I'm almost done with these, but I at this point, it's too expensive to buy stuff like that. So I just try to buy I just drink water.
Yeah.
Anywhere I go, just buy water.
Good old low calorie water.
Right.
Yeah. Man, well, for those of you still listening, let us know in the comment section down below how many Celsiuses should Riley chug for our 25th special live stream episode. I'm thinking maybe around 12. I think we can get him to chug around 12 back-to-back Celsiuses. We'll let you mix up the flavors, but based on the comments left on this episode, that will be the true test of how many you are going to consume. We're only 3 episodes, or really 3 weeks away from that, if you think about it. So for those of you listening, we will plan to do a live stream Sunday evening. What Sunday is that? Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see here. Today is the 30th, so it'll be Sunday, July 21st, I believe. It'll be the 21st, probably around, I'm going to go out on a limb and say around 7 o'clock. We'll bring this up next week with some firm deets, as the kids would say. We'll get you some actual details on that, but we'll be live streaming. We'll have a fun time. We might have some coupon codes to give away. For those of you in video land, you can see that dope hoodie that Riley's wearing with the Unscripted Company, I guess, a logo. I don't know if you want to call it a logo, but that script on there, the script that says Unscripted. Funny enough. But We'll have some stuff we can give away for that, so that'll be hype. I would be remiss if I didn't also shill out the ability for you to like, comment, subscribe, give us a follow, share this with a friend, feed the algorithm what it wants. The algorithm wants you to engage with this content, and if you made it this far, it's company policy to do so, or else we'll report you to HR. We don't want that. HR is a little nasty. The last person reported to HR. They're no longer with us. This used to be a 3-person podcast, and we don't like to talk about what happened to that 3rd person. But and as always, I'll leave the last words of wisdom to none other than Riley. What you got, Riley?
Where will you be come November? Arizona sweet tea is still 99 cents, so get out there and get your tea on. Heb is apparently an amazing grocery store. I will probably know soon because it'll probably be constructed very soon in Denton. And if I happen to chug 12 Celsius, you might not see me for a 26th episode because I'll probably go into cardiac arrest and I probably will die. So just don't chug Celsius, needless. And until next time.
I know I was going to give Riley the last words, but I'm already thinking the 26th episode, you'll want to tune in because it'll be the in memoriam episode for Riley after chugging all those Celsius. So we'll see y'all in the next one.